I'm really interested in how you got to where you got to, and how the whole music thing started from growing up in the township to having good education, but then converting that into music and where you're at today.
So basically, in South Africa, because of our history, what the youth of South Africa does is we sing and we dance,
Yeah.
you know? And now there's a third layer on top of that. We sing, we dance, we DJ.
Mm.
And now we produce as well. So we sing, we dance, we make music, and we DJ. So because of the dynamic of me going to a white school, I was listening to techno, acid, and whatever the kids at school were listening to.
Yeah.
Coming back to the township and listening to whatever the kids in the township were listening to. Going home um, and listening to whatever my parents were listening to. So grew up with a very eclectic mix of music, and loved all those genres.
Yeah.
So I started collecting a lot of music when I was 11. And also, like, I was like, I wasn't academic, I wasn't sporty. Like, I was borderline, like, one of the losers at school. And I collected music, and that was me. Like, everyone knew that, like, if you're looking for a new song, ask Themba. So I was basically like Shazam back in the day. Like, I would know everything, you know? Like, I'd buy CDs, I'd buy cassettes, I'd buy vinyl, read the covers, read everything, know who the producers are, who the vocalists are, try find the vocalists and see like what other songs they've done, etc., etc. So I was like the music nerd. When I was 14, one of my friends was having a birthday party for his sister, and he said, "Themba, you must come DJ at my sister's birthday party." One of my white friends. I didn't know what DJing was.
Yeah.
So he was like, "You've got all this music. Like, what do you do with it?" I'm like, "Listen to it." And he's like, "No, come." So I took my CD player, my cassette deck, and my record player, and I was there just playing this one song, pressing stop, playing the next song. And while I was doing this, I'd noticed that, like, hey, if I play this, people come in and they dance, and if I stop and I play something else, they go away and they chill. And if I play something else, they come in, they're like, "Hey man, can you change the music and play something else?" So that's when I started falling in love with the art of DJing, not from a mixing point of view, but just from a, like, being able to curate music in a way that, like, would jerk certain emotions and, like, keep people on the dance floor for as long as they possibly could. Another dynamic that we had in South Africa was that, like, records weren't coming in as often and as much as we would have liked them to.
Yeah.
So literally, like, if you wanted a record, you were either getting all the stuff that the big DJs didn't want, or you were lucky enough that one of the DJs didn't want the record at the time and only realized later on that, like, hey, this is actually a big record. So getting music was the most difficult thing. And I'm talking like you're a, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, you're still in high school. The thought of even getting on a plane is not, like, mission impossible. You don't even think about that. So everyone who is getting the music is like importing, and it's like the big record shops that are importing. So yeah, I ended up starting to produce my own music. And the reason was that because I couldn't get the records that the big DJs were getting. So I was like, well, they have the music that I would want. Why don't I make music that they won't be able to get?
Yeah.
And at the time, it was just like around that time where CD players were coming out. This is like 98, 99. Started like fiddling around with the FL Studio, Cubase 32 back in the day. Yes, then started producing like that. Then when I was in matric, I stopped DJing completely. First year of university, I got back into it. End of the year, I landed a residency at one of the biggest clubs in Joburg. And by pure chance,
Which
what I
club
used
was
to
that?
do, Huzu.
Huzu, okay.
So what I used to do is that, like, I used to carry 12 records with me all the time. Because in my head, like, 12 records was an hour of music.
Yeah.
And if I played the B-sides, it was 2 hours, 2 hours of music. So I used to carry bro, like, I'd go to varsity, I'd have my school bag and my record bag.
Damn.
Also, it was just like a way to, like, get girls, because, like, they were like, what? Like, no, it's my record bag, I'm a DJ. It was a cool talking point.
Your back strength must have been amazing.
Yeah. And the one night, after varsity, I used to carpool with like a DJ that's actually quite big even till today. His name is Naked DJ. We used to carpool home together, and he had to go drop off stuff at his brother, who was working as a promoter at this nightclub. So we get to this nightclub. It's like just after 9 o'clock, and the brother's like stressed, man. And he's like, man, the DJ that's supposed to be here is not here. He doesn't know what to do. And I was like, hey, man, I've got my records. I can play. And he's like, what? Like, how? What do you know? And I was like, just trust me, man. Like, I'll hold it down. I went, I played. The owner of the club came out from the office and it was like, walked into the DJ box and he's like, who are you? And I told him, hey, man, like, so in South Africa, I used the name Euphonic.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, okay, listen, from now on, come back every week.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's how I got my first residency. Then fast forward to present day in South Africa, I'm doing radio shows. I'm doing compilation CDs that's like are selling big numbers, playing at every festival, party, nightclub that you can imagine, doing TV shows, etc., etc. And then in 2015, 2016, I started getting bored of like what was happening in South Africa and like where the music scene was going in South Africa, because it's very easy for you to hit rooftop very, very quickly. Yeah. So I started exploring like the international market. And previously to that, I was already going to Miami Music Week every single year since 2009.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, so the difference between the world, the rest of the world, and South Africa is that in South Africa, you can be eclectic and you can play open formats, but the rest of the world wants to know who are you and what do you do?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Right? And in South Africa, most DJs pride themselves by being either the Louis Vega of South Africa, the David Guetta of South Africa, the Calvin Harris of South Africa, or the Solomon of South Africa, because we honestly don't believe we can be as big as that.
Yeah.
You know, and
I've heard that saying. I've heard that saying so many times talking about South Africa as well. It's interesting that you say that. I have heard that.
Yeah. And then if you're going to have the conversation with like a Kyle Watson, a Black Coffee, a Themba, whoever else is touring the world, like you hear how difficult it is. Like the passport thing, first of all, like how you navigate around having multiple visas and multiple passports so that you can like eventually make it to these shows. Like it starts being like a mind thing and you're just like, man, just shut this conversation down. It's easier to just tour here. So I basically was like, okay, I want to try be something else, start a whole new thing from scratch that's literally just about nothing else, no thrills, just about the music.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to use an alias for this. It's going to be me, and I'm going out into the world as me. And that's why I use the name Themba. So Themba's my real name. Themba's the name on my ID and passport.